Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's side event, the final event of Exchange EU, and the lessons learned and key takeaways that we have gathered from the last 2 years of this exchange program. Welcome also to the people online. We have a live stream, so I think we also have some people joining there. And thanks again, everybody, for making it here this morning. We have a very interactive session, so we hope to get everybody a little bit warmed up before the official start after the session. My name is Moritz Schäfer. I'm an associate director at Guidehouse, and we have been leading the Exchange EU program since April 2021. You can see here on the screen already a QR code. That QR code leads you to Mentimeter, which we're going to use later on. And so if you want to already check in there and be a little bit quicker than later, you may do so. I want to give you a little bit of an overview of what we are going to do today. So basically, today's session is in 3 parts. We have at first the key takeaways and learnings combined that we have seen from these exchanges between regions across Europe, and my colleague Emma is going to present some of these findings, and we also have a little video prepared that we have been creating over the course of these exchanges. And then second part is we want to hear from the people that participated in Exchange EU. So we have wonderful panelists here with us who will share some insights of what they have experienced in these exchanges and how their just transition process is currently developing. And then our third part is an outlook. So this is the end of Exchange EU, but there is much more of support services out there from the Commission, and we would like to give a little bit of an overview of what other programs are out there, what other support programs are there, and what's maybe also still to come. So with these words, I would like to call on stage Emma Krause to give you a presentation of our lessons learned and key learnings. Emma, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Moritz, and thanks to everyone who's joining us in the room today and online. My name is Emma Krause. I know many of you from having the pleasure of gone on exchange with you over the course of the past year and a half. I wanted to take some time today to present what the lessons were from all these exchanges. To give you a bit of an overview of the Exchange EU program, if you are not familiar, it's a part of the CRIT Secretariat, the Core Regions and Transition Initiative, and it was conceptualized and implemented by Guidehouse, where Moritz and I work, along with partners from IFOC, the Wuppertal Institute, and ICLE on behalf of DG Enner. We did 2 rounds of exchanges. The first round consisted of 8 matches, 18 Coal Plus regions from 12 member states. Our second round consisted of 9 matches, 17 Coal Plus regions from 11 member states. So lots of exchange and discussion all across Europe. And the exchanges focused on key strategies for just transitions, key learnings, and we dived into many different topics, everything from district heating, transition governance strategies, hydrogen projects, stakeholder engagement, you name it. So I'll try now to give a quick overview of some of the key lessons from the program and the discussions. And all this information that I will present now can be found in a lessons learned brochure that's on the Exchange EU website. There's going to be a link to it at the end of the presentation, so not to worry. You can also find some of the information on the 2 posters about ExchangeU in the front of this hall with QR codes linking there. So if you're curious to learn more, you can find out there, or you can, of course, come talk to myself or Moritz, and we're happy to answer questions or give information. So diving into the exchange programs, here's a little overview, just some insights into some of our exchanges. You'll see that it consisted of a bunch of roundtable discussions, site visits, group workshops, and they were very varied, from looking at declining infrastructure, let's say, to new opportunities, and we had a lot of very busy but engaged and informative discussions and site visits. So what did we learn while we were doing these exchanges all across Europe? First and foremost, I think one of the big takeaways was the importance of substantive transition strategies. So I think really there was consensus from many participants that the earlier that one of these transitions starts, the better, and to make sure that there's a clear trajectory where it's going. And that is interwoven with different climate policies. I think key to understanding that transition process and dictating that transition process, it's important to not only conduct research in the regions, understanding what the reality is that's going on and the stakeholders that it affects, but also to engage participatory processes, to see how people are perceiving the transition, how it's affecting them, because that's also going to dictate the amount of buy-in into the transition process. So this was really a key learning, I think, from across multiple exchanges, and was a topic at the forefront of multiple exchanges. Next lesson learned, multi-actor governance. We had the pleasure on exchange of having people from all different levels of government, and also from third sector, from private sector even, so really hearing from a variety of stakeholders throughout exchanges, and they all highlighted how important it is to bring in different actors from different elements of the transition in order to contribute to its success. There was a real push, especially for municipal level, engaging the municipal level more, because the tangible implementation of project has such an impact on the municipal level, so it's a finding we wanted to be sure to highlight. And again, emphasizing the importance of high-quality participatory processes to bring in all those different levels of governance effectively and make sure that the transition isn't just driven from the top. We have many examples across Europe of different ways of doing things. For example, in Western Macedonia, it was really top-down driven. We also had many conversations with colleagues from Poland, for example, that really did it from the bottom up. And so being able to understand those different approaches and make use of the lessons learned that work from them was really, a key topic in the exchange, and one that many exchange participants emphasized again and again. And I would be remiss to say that also there was a lot of highlighting of the importance of engaging youth and students, because whatever the transition creates over the next 5, 10, 15 years, that's the future of the youth in that respective region. So they need to be as much an actor in all this as everyone else. Next, sustainable economic diversification. This was a favorite topic, and I think one of the really interesting learnings from the exchange was all the different ways that this can happen in different regions. We had great examples, for instance, from Slovakia, from Previtsa, using contact centers to help support miners in transition. We had great examples of initiatives to support startups and SMEs, something we saw in Leipzig, and I know also is very much of interest to the region that we're sitting in today, is really getting that startup culture going strong. And we also had great examples of leveraging social infrastructure and local community services, particularly in the Midlands, which I think you'll hear more about in our panel. So lots of learnings in terms of what are key ways to leverage local assets, leverage local talent, and try to diversify the economy beyond coal plus infrastructures. Next up, environmental rehabilitation and cultural heritage. This is twofold because, as you all know, with the transition, there's many industrial sites and mining sites that are no longer going to be of use in their current form, and it's important to rehabilitate them in order to ensure that they can be used in a productive way still for the region. It's key, and I think there was a lot of innovative thinking on exchanges about, okay, how do we, refurbish these sites or reuse them for other economic opportunities in the region. In Spain, we saw lots of opportunities with renewable energy. We've seen other ones that are very much focused on tourism, turning them into lakes, etc. But it's important to really think about how to reuse that infrastructure. This was a message that was emphasized over and over and over again by regions, while at the same time not putting the past in the past, keeping the past present. Making sure that the cultural heritage from the mining history, from the coal production history is captured and is presented and appreciated, because it's what has built the society up until that point. I had the pleasure of going to a really interesting mining museum in Eger, Hungary, in northern Hungary, and I know several colleagues on exchanges went to several others, and really jurisdictions emphasize the importance of doing this. Also to engage stakeholders, to get their buy-in, to show that you understand that they were a key piece of the society up to this point, and they remain to be, and that shouldn't be degraded just because the society is undergoing transition. And last but not least, of course, clean energy transition. And this was a topic that we discussed in many different forms, whether it was district heating, whether it was hydrogen, solar, what have you. This was a key message that was coming from all the Coal Plus regions that we discussed with, in terms of, okay, what kind of clean energy projects can we actually implement with the resources we have and in the territory that we have. Another key topic that came up quite a bit was energy communities, the importance of having enabling law, and also thinking about it from an inclusive perspective. We had the pleasure, for instance, of speaking with Western Macedonia, who I think is sort of known in the community for having quite a few energy communities, and actually getting to learn lessons and how to think about them in a more inclusive way from the outset, so to design them better. We also got quite a bit of, we've also got now quite a bit of interest in hydrogen that came up, especially in our second round of exchanges. We spoke about it quite a bit in Ústí, where they're thinking about it, as well as Asturias, where they've got a whole strategy built out. And we also had quite a few discussions about district heating systems, something I know for the colleagues in Vilenia was very much of interest, for the colleagues in Prvica was very much of interest. So many different technologies, and I think the key learning here is thinking about which ones can be implemented based on the infrastructure that we have currently, and that makes sense with the resources we have currently. And there are many examples across different exchanges. That's a brief overview of the lessons that we learned on exchange. If you'd like to learn more about them, as I said, they're in our Lessons Learned brochure online. But now I would like to hand it back to Moritz to get us to share our thoughts about some of these lessons learned. We'd love to get your input. So if you can scan the QR code, or if the QR code doesn't work, feel free to go to menti.com and put that code in, and we'll ask you to give us some input.
Thank you very much, Emma. Thank you for these insights, and I think they really show how important it is to exchange between regions, because there is so much knowledge out there. So many different regions have faced challenges and maybe found solutions to them. So it's important to exchange between these. We're now moving to some questions. Here you go. Exactly. What is the most effective just transition governance approach? And you have it on your smartphone. You named it, that there is different regions with different approaches, top-down approaches, bottom-up approaches, or a mix of both. Let's see, we have 31 answers. I think that's already quite good. And I guess it shows clearly that the top-down approach is probably not what is preferred here, but rather a bottom-up approach or a mix of both, having some some policies from the top and some from the bottom. Okay, can we move to the next question, please? Okay, the next question is, what clean energy technology is currently most strategic for your region to invest in to support its just transition? Okay, and we're collecting a couple of words here. Let's see if they come up. Solar, wind, energy storage. We see hydrogen. Well, basically all of the different renewable energies that are out there. Okay, I guess we have a little bit of a tendency towards hydrogen, wind, and solar. Okay, thank you very much. I think it's a good mix, and solar and wind. I think that is clear that those are really some of the top options, as well as energy efficiency. And then hydrogen, Emma, as you mentioned, is of course a more and more upcoming topic, and becomes more and more important for many regions. Okay. Can we move to the next question? I don't know what this one here is. I don't know if. Here you go. It's also a little bit of waking up, right? So all the players in there. Okay, here we go. Reusing existing coal plus infrastructure for a sustainable project is key to creating new economic and regional opportunities for just transition. And the question is whether you agree or disagree. So should the infrastructure that's available being used, or is it actually creating something completely new? I'm sorry, none of the options are correct. All right. I think the answer here is clear, despite that none of the options are correct. I guess most people agree that using the infrastructure and continuing to use the infrastructure is an important part, which also means continuing, I guess, as an energy region in some part. And we've had this also as a topic, and we discussed that a lot, whether regions actually define themselves as energy regions, and or if they're rather define themselves as a mining region and continue maybe in different aspects that we've seen in tourism or other topics. But I think this one here is quite clear. Do we have another question? One more question? Okay. Now all players are there. Good. Let's see. Was there a lesson highlighted that could support your region? And I think we have a word cloud here again. Okay, maybe we can see the results here. Again, no correct answer, I'm sorry. Okay, I think there's something not really correct with the Mentimeter. Maybe we move to the next part, and we have a video, as I said in the beginning, we have a video prepared which gives a little bit of an insight in some of the highlights of Exchange EU and some footage we've shot in some of the exchanges. And if you can please show the video. Here we go.
As part of the European Union's push to become carbon neutral, the Exchange EU program was created to support coal plus regions as they transition from carbon-intensive energy towards a more sustainable future. This transition presented a unique opportunity for regions to empower individuals, communities, and governments to become catalysts for change, and vastly improve the livelihoods of millions of people through economic diversification and technological innovation. Exchange EU assisted regions to make the most of this opportunity by connecting practitioners from across the European Union to share their insights and promote collaboration on a range of topics around the implementation, adaptation, and financing of a just transition. The program matched transition regions through bilateral and multilateral exchanges, combining presentations, group workshops, mentoring, and site visits, designed to deepen the understanding of each other's challenges, driving collaboration and developing a lasting network between regions.
We tried to cooperate with the delegations and the different groups from the early beginning. We were asking the different regions which topic they were most keen to know more about, what their challenges were, and with whom they wanted also to be matched.
Through 2 rounds, 24 Coal Plus regions have participated in the exchanges, representing 13 EU member states. Each exchange was unique and tailored to the challenges and goals of each region. There is no one-size-fits-all for creating a successful transition. However, the exchanges have revealed that many regions face similar obstacles.
It's very inspiring to travel to other coal regions, to meet personally people who are dealing every day with the same issues, share some interesting initiatives or solutions for the problems.
Different jurisdictions have different strengths, and they've figured out who's good at what, and then can learn from previous jurisdictions' experiences. They're more and more connected and really, I think, value learning from each other.
Particular concern among transitioning regions is creating long-term sustainable economic diversification and development. Many traditional coal regions have high unemployment rates, and job losses in mining are hard to compensate. They also face an increasing lack of skilled labor as younger people look to move away for new opportunities. Many of the exchanges discussed experiences with reskilling and upskilling programs, and highlighted strategies and good practices to incentivize regional investment.
It is a new opportunity, a new challenge on how to, and we should benefit from this transition. If we cooperate, then we can exchange good practices, we exchange know-how, we see which fields we should improve our steps, our plans, and in that way we form a networking that it's very important of coal transitions.
Regions also highlighted how small local projects can act as catalyzers for more projects, inspiring others to build on the experience.
It's been a huge inspiration, seeing people doing those ideas that you have been thinking about and actually succeeding in implementing them. It actually gave us courage to proceed with our ideas and to write more projects.
It was also clear that policymakers need to holistically consider the effects of phasing out coal on multiple dimensions of miners' lives, such as their physical health and sense of identity.
We have many things in common, many problems, the culture of the society, the man who works and the woman who stay at home, and we can find solutions together.
Rehabilitating the environment after the closure of mines was another area of discussion, and considered key to improving the quality of life in the region by creating a thriving, safe, clean, and healthy environment.
Jeśli chodzi o kwestie społeczne, to nie chcemy, żeby to była rewolucja, ewolucja. Gmina Brzeszcze jest mocno związana z kopalnią. Musimy pokazać naszej społeczności, że na terenach po byłej kopalni tętni życie. Jeżeli zachowamy tożsamość, pokażemy mieszkańcom, że te obiekty mają nową funkcję, ale ta funkcja jest przyjazna dla lokalnej społeczności, a nie tylko, i ten teren będzie żył,
The idea of keeping a region's mining heritage alive was a consistent theme throughout the exchanges.
The culture of the region or the culture of the province are part of their identity, and it's necessary to maintain the history, to maintain the culture, and to preserve it in museums or in some kind of facilities, cultural facilities.
Several exchanges also highlighted that leveraging the existing history and heritage of the region would help to attract new, innovative industries and businesses, crucial to creating a revitalized vision for the future and encouraging young people to stay in mining areas.
When we are working on just transition, we are working for the future. And the future is based on the young people. We have to involve them and we have to amplify their voices. What is their expectations? What kind of place would you like to have in the future?
As the European Union continues to lead the way to becoming carbon neutral, it is vital that regions continue to work together and enable each other through their newfound knowledge, passion, and determination, continuing to strengthen and promote the Exchange EU network.
Więc takie doświadczenie jest pozytywne i też buduje jakby takie pozytywne relacje i pozytywne doświadczenia na przyszłość i pomaga ten proces, trudny proces transformacji odpowiednio zaplanować, odpowiednio wdrażać. Więc zdecydowanie zachęcamy do tego, że warto współpracować z innymi regionami w Europie w tym trudnym procesie.
So I think that this video gave a good insight of some of the topics also that we discussed, and Emma mentioned that we have quite a lot of material available on our website. So we'll show the link again in the end or down. You can find those posters. They also have the QR code. There you can find the video, and during the course of Exchange EU, but also the CRIT Secretariat has shot a lot of videos that you can see there. There is a whole playlist on the DG Energy YouTube channel where you can find a lot of interviews with a lot of people. Please have a look. I think there is a lot of interesting material there. Okay, that was our part one. As said, we have 3 parts, so we are moving to the second part of our session here today. And now we would like to hear from the experiences from our participants that have participated in Exchange EU and hear from the practitioners on the ground. So I would like to welcome to our stage Patrick Bolland from the Midlands region in Ireland, Alexandru Kelemen from Geo Valley in Romania, Wojtek Franta from here, from Karlovy Vary, so as a host to this event, Konstantina Tongarido from Western Macedonia and Greece, and I also like to ask Emma Krause again on the stage, who's a senior consultant at Guidehouse and one of the main Exchange EU facilitators. Can I use this one? Is this one? Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for being here with us. And as said, we would like to talk a little bit about what your experiences have been in the Just Transition in general, but also in the Exchange EU program, and what have been things that you found is interesting in exchanging with others, and maybe to give the audience a little bit of an impression of who you are and what you have been doing. Please, we'll do the round. Give us a little bit of an insight of who you are, what your position is in the Just Transition process, and maybe also a little bit of an insight of where the transition process is at the moment in your jurisdiction.
Yeah, my name is Pádraig Boland, as you said, and I'm from Ireland and the Midlands region, and I work as the skills manager and the training manager with the Education and Training Authority in the Just Transition region. I'm also part of the Midlands Region Transition Team, where I chair the working group for employment continuity pathways. And I suppose my own focus and the focus of that group within the Midlands region is looking at the needs, the training needs, the reskilling needs, the upskilling needs, not just of the workers who are most directly affected by the transition, but also of their families and their wider communities, very rural communities in the Midlands. And I suppose that's where we're at the moment. We're heading in where the Just Transition Fund has just been announced and the different measures underneath that. And part of what we're doing at a regional level is to try and ensure that, and I suppose Emma emphasised the centrality of people to the transition. And we're trying to ensure that the most affected communities, the most affected workers, the most affected families are central, and that their voice is amplified, and that the responses to their needs are reflected throughout the Just Transition. That's really where we're at.
Thank you very much, Pádraig. Alex, would like to hear from you. Please introduce yourself and where you are.
Thank you very much. My name is Alexandru Kelemen. I am the executive director of the governing body in Jiu Valley. I'm a social worker by profession, so I can relate to Pádraig here in regards to putting people at the center of the transition and actually making it the just transition that we all want to do it. In Jiu Valley, our feeling still is that we should have done more, from my point of view, because I mean, more in terms of deploying projects. I would say that the rhythm that we have established, but not only in Jiu Valley, I think should be a bit faster, because we have to continue on the enthusiasm of the community, which we started through the TJTPs, but still at the moment I think we are lacking very concrete projects, even soft projects, which I think could have been earlier deployed. Our region still, I will not be only negative, it's not negative, it's just like a feedback, grassroots feedback, but I think it's very, very important at the moment that we started deploying the first call of proposals for economic diversification. So in the next months, I think we will have beneficiaries, and I think that's the most important thing, to start to work on that, and yeah, to start working actually, because the sooner that we can deploy projects and the sooner that the people can see that things are done and we meet their expectations, we will get more people in the process of transition, and then we will make it a just transition. That's at least my focus. And yeah, Jiu Valley is has very high expectations from the fund, not only from the fund, but from the process itself. I would say that in this beautiful Karlovy Vary, it's the best place to take bold decisions. So I'm expecting that the political dialogue has some very interesting results at the end of the day, but also that will materialize in some decision-making process, and also some strong decisions at local level. Because yeah, I think we need to start doing stuff very, very fast. And I think as a common, let's say, framework of doing this, I think we should not be scared to start doing things, and we should not be afraid of failure. I think it's better to fail, but also to try to do something, rather just to wait until everything is like magically going to be set up. Yeah, that's at least my local feeling in Jiu Valley. And we are looking forward to cutting the first ribbons to be for the new projects, because I think it's going to be, yeah, a great opportunity for the area to become one of the best places in Europe, actually, and a good example for transition process. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, and also raising the bar for today's event. I think that's a good start. That's what we are here for. Thank you for these insights, and we're moving to Konstantina to Western Macedonia, and please also share with us.
Oh, well, my name is Konstantina Togarivo, and actually I'm a researcher in stakeholder engagement, and probably mainly with vulnerable groups and communication. I am a member of the Territorial Committee of Western Macedonia for our implementation, for transition implementation plan, and I am also a member of the horizontal stakeholder strategy, horizontal groups in the European Commission. I come from a region that, compared to other regions, I would say that things go quite well. I think that maybe there are complaints every time, and I will say that we have been the first approved country as regards our transition plan, and we have got a national strategy towards the coal phasing out. Despite the energy crisis and despite any economic problems that raise from this energy crisis, I think that we are focused on our target. And our target is that the coal phasing out process in region will go on. Right now, if I can give you a whole, let's say, a picture of what's going on in Western Macedonia right now, a lot of proposals have already been launched regarding reskilling, regarding the support of enterprises, and probably that you have all heard about the hydrogen program that is going on in the Western Macedonia. So we have got some milestones, let's say, in Western Macedonia, some one milestones project, and hopefully that in the forthcoming weeks more proposals will be launched concerning innovation centers, for innovation centers in each regional unit of Western Macedonia. And another proposal we launched about how to support the enterprises in order for move on to another economic model. I would like to emphasize that the engagement of stakeholders in Western Macedonia, and I think that in particular the engagement of the role of university that has played a great one in this whole process. So I have got the feeling that in this political dialogue that it's in progress right now in this great area of Karlovy Vary, I will say that we should keep in mind that only if all the stakeholders cooperate and support each other, then we can move forwards to our targets, and maybe we will dream of a better sustainable future.
Thank you very much, Konstantina. And we're moving here to Wojtek, to the Karlovy Vary region. Thanks again for having us here. Please give us a little bit of an insight of what your role is here, and where the Karlovy Vary region in which we are here, where it stands.
Thank you. First of all, welcome everyone in Karlovy Vary, in this beautiful venue. I hope you are enjoying this place. It's freshly opened, so I'm so proud that this whole organization is happening here. My name is Wojtek Franta. I'm the Deputy Governor of Karlovy Vary region. Right now I'm responsible for spa, balneology, UNESCO and IT. And I was responsible for preparation the Just Transition plan for Karlovy Vary region. I think the approach we choose in Karlovy Vary region was a mix. It was bottom-up together with the top-down approach. We try to involve the local communities and experts in the process. And that's also the process right now. Right now I'm involved in 2 strategic projects which Karlovy Vary region is preparing out of 4. That's the special case in Czech Republic that all 3 Just Transition regions have this special category of strategic projects. So it's a bigger projects, which bigger budgets, and both of the projects I am involved in are actually using the experiences from the Exchange EU, because we took the best examples from abroad, and I'm glad for that. One of the projects is focused on culture and creativity. I think the Leipzig history and phenomenon, what happened there, that was my first exchange. I was on 2. That was something really inspiring for us. The way they are working with the local communities, with the creativity sector, with the SMEs, how they combine the university together with the public and private sector. It's just amazing. And if I look at the Leipzig, which went through the transition, I think they were successful. And we can see that they are in a different stage of transition, and I think we will head to that stage as well in the upcoming future. And I hope that there will be many calls for just transitions, because we need to get to that stage. We are at maybe we reached the beginning, and the process will take some time, and it will be not done in 7 years. It will be longer. And I think for us, we clearly saw the approach of people in Leipzig, and we saw the second exchange. I was in Bulgaria, in Stara Zagora. We saw the situation in there is quite similar to ours. The coal pits are still open. It's still in the transition. And we have history with the mining, which is, we thought in Karlovy Vary region that we had a long history of mining, but when we went to Stara Zagora, we find out that the city is having 8,000 years of history and many thousand years of mining. So it was something incomparable. And really inspiring how they work with the history and everything. So I'm glad that I took part in exchange, and I hope we will go on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that actually already goes in the direction of my second question that I wanted to ask. So I'll start maybe with you, Alex, to hear a little bit of what exchange have you participated, and what have you taken from it? So I think you have been visiting another region. So maybe give us a little bit of an insight of what project or what innovation you've seen there and that inspired you and that you've taken with you.
Well, I was part of a delegation which consisted out of representatives from the University of Petroșan, which we always know that it's engine actually for transition itself, together with members of the local public authorities and also NGO sector. We were in Privița, and I'm very happy that Alois is here, and we can sit afterwards and discuss a little bit more than we've managed, because we were all very busy with what's going on actually at local level. But I think it's very, very important that we had this exchange, because we had the possibility actually to see some of the projects. I'm a very practical man, so I don't like discussing a lot, but I saw some really good initiatives which have been done in Privița in regards, for example, to use water from the mines, because we had the same type of mining industry, underground mines, and they're focused on not wasting actually the resources, because of course we will not have mines, and we have already established this also in our Jiu Valley, but still there is some very everybody sees mining, or not everybody, but a lot of the people are seeing mines as passives, but they are actives actually. If you have the necessary exchange, if you have the necessary willingness actually to discuss with other regions to see what they've done. And what Pripyat has done, for example, in terms of heritage, taking into consideration who brought them there is very, very important, because you cannot switch from one day to the other, even if it's hydrogen, even if it's UFOs. You cannot really do it, because these people have, at least in our area, for 200 years been the backbone not only of the region but of the country. And what they've done there, was very inspiring actually. And one of the people from, one of the representatives in the delegation has a mine which will close actually in 2026, so very fast. And the example of how they have conserved actually the heritage in Pripyat mine, and the way that, for example, they have used the skills of the people, the know-how of the people, which, to be honest, we are a room full of experts here, but sometimes we just need to go and ask the people who are working day to day in the mine sites to see how good of ideas they come up with. And this was the case actually with the catfish example in Pripyat, and the tomato plant which was there. So this came actually as a bottom-up process. This was inspiring, and hopefully we can match up in Geo Valley actually the example. And I think this was somehow at a lower level one of the first deployment of potential projects for the region. And we need to start from somewhere, and this Exchange EU actually facilitated the possibility to have some examples which can be replicated, of course with specificities, but which can be replicated very soon, I hope. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I would like to come to you, Patrick, because you have been the host to one of our exchanges, which I was happy to participate in. And I know that you shared a lot. You had a big program with a lot of site visits and a lot of inputs from many people from your region. But my question to you would be, was there something maybe in that process that you also learned for yourself or about yourself? And was there also something that the visitors brought with them that you could use for your transition? And
yeah, thanks, Mark. Yeah, yes to both. I suppose from our perspective, one of the really important things, and again I'm going back to the bottoms-up approach, was that in organizing the site visits, we brought our visitors from Western Macedonia to a number of really small community-based programs in the rural Midlands. And it proved a really good strategy. It wasn't meant to be, but it proved a really good strategy for engagement of those communities in the entire process. Because one of the biggest criticisms of just transition in our country is that those who are most affected are least listened to. And the opportunity for hearing their voices, they're few and far between. And I think, in general, we have done really well from the top down, whether you go from the EU level and I suppose creating the environment for transition to occur, and the European Green Deal, right down to the Irish government. And we would have been very critical of the Irish government until our friends from Western Macedonia arrived. And we saw that the top-down approach in Ireland was really only in a very small level compared to the experience in Western Macedonia. So we gained consolation from our visitors as well, that really, in fairness to the Irish government, they weren't quite as dictatorial as we thought they were. So that was really illuminating. The other thing I think, it's important, in Ireland, the just transition accelerated very quickly. And we were aware that peat was a finite resource, and we were looking towards 2030, and then all of a sudden it was announced, and it was happening within months rather than years. And you can feel very isolated when you're the first region to be a just transition in your country. And despite all of the differences between lignite and coal, and there's so much commonality. And that's, I think, what our friends from Western Macedonia brought us most, was that there was a shared needs, a shared search for a vision, for a pathway, for a rural community, and very much, whether it's coal or lignite or peat or whatever, these regions are generally those that are most disadvantaged before transition. That we would find that in our areas, the levels of educational attainment in our peatland communities would be far worse than the national average, and maybe related to the peat industry and the extractive industries. And people would have left school earlier, maybe got jobs for life, and therefore there wasn't a tradition of educational attainment. And we found then the very same issues occurring in the other regions. So I think the commonality, I suppose your uniqueness in being peat, but just to see that the commonality, you're not alone in this. Throughout Europe, there are communities grappling with the same issues. And like Alex said, have models of good practice that can be shared. And we found that really, really good.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think what I also found, and you mentioned it, what I found inspiring is that the exchange between a coal region and a peat region works just as fine, because the transitioning process, there is the commonality, right? That's
absolutely, and we found that you know, right throughout, and I've been involved in a few other things, and I suppose the STAR team, and I see Robert and Paul here, who have been really supportive of our transition. But we've engaged with other regions as well throughout Europe involved in digital transition, and whether shale or, it doesn't really matter, because the process is the same, and that's what you're sharing the journey in.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Konstantina, I would like to come to you, because you have been both a visiting region and a hosting region, and I'd like to maybe try to combine both questions that I've asked the other ones together. So what has been your learning experience, and maybe also you can include why you have applied for a second time. Yeah?
Okay. Well, first of all, I would like to say that I have got the honor to be at the visiting and hosting region. And in this first round of exchange program, we have been the hosting region. In the second, we have been the visiting region. And really, I will try to make some conclusions from this round, two exchange rounds. And firstly, I would like to point out that what I have learned is that transition is beyond economic one. There is the social dimension of transition. And this is something that you can only take notice if you really participate and if you go to such a kind of study visits. It has been a great experience because we managed to overcome the regionally limited information, and let me explain it a little bit myself on that. It has given us the great opportunity to make comparisons among the regions. And I mean, the best experience and the best feeling that I got is that we are not alone, that there are other regions and there are other areas as ours, and that there are common challenges and what I relive. Okay, there are common challenges, and probably, and not probably, we are sure that there are common solutions. And if we don't, if we haven't taken part in these exchange programs, I think that we wouldn't have the chance to see what's going on in the other regions, and as I said, to make comparisons. And actually, my great experience is that we have a networking right now, a networking with countries, with colleagues, and I would dare to say that some of them are friends of mine, and we are now working on the same issues, and these exchange programs, these two exchange programs, triggered that interest and triggered that collaborations. And really, it's a great advantage. It's great advantage that through this network, we are trying to solve and give solutions to common challenges, to common problems. And to be honest, all of us, all of the stakeholders, all of the experts, and mostly all of us that we are here today, that we are very much concerned on how we will help the citizen and how we will put in the center of this transition the citizen and the people. Because beyond the economics and beyond this production model and beyond the technical issues and the technical problems, there are people. There are people who they feel anxiety because they lose their jobs. There are people because there's families that who see their children that they immigrate to other regions, to other countries because of the coal phasing out. And if we don't take with us the people, then I think that we will not manage what we have been discussing right now between us. So I think all in all that this has been what I decided, for that reason actually I have decided to submit an application for the second exchange program, because I have seen that how useful it has been for us, the outputs and the conclusions for the first exchange program. And at this point I will try to give you an example that really has been very surprised for me and for all the Greek delegation in Hungary. I have been there with a Greek delegation and the experts from our delegation as well. And our colleague from Hungary moved us to a very, very poor neighborhood. Actually, it has been very poor, vulnerable people that they have been living in poverty for many, many years. And look what happened there. There has been established a solar power plant near to this neighborhood. And as a result, the energy that they generated from this solar power plant, it has been distributed to the poor people. What has been the results? That before the establishment of this solar power plant, there has been a huge percentage of theft of electricity in the neighborhood. But afterwards, because the people saw the benefits of this solar plant and they get get very beneficial from this energy, from this solar power plant, there has no theft anymore. So what happened actually? They addressed the energy poverty through social inclusion. And that has been actually a very, very beneficial lesson for our side in order to see how this example can we implement in our region in Greece.
Thank you very much, Konstantina. And Wojtek, you already mentioned in your intro a little bit of what you've learned from the exchange, but maybe could you give us again a little bit of an example of how the experience that you've taken from the exchange has been integrated into your work, or what maybe some examples that you have that you're now doing differently, or things that you have implemented.
Yes, thank you. As we've been to Leipzig and we went throughout the story of Leipzig and the decline of the population of Leipzig, and the approaches the city and the region took to change this course, that was so inspiring. And those approaches we try to right now implement in our strategic project I was speaking of, the 4K, the creative agency, which could help to SMEs or people working in the culture or creative sector to start up with their own firm companies, start their own business in this sector, which is, I think, which could be the future of our region, or let's say the changes of the course of the jobs which are here right now. So Leipzig was inspiration because they twisted the course of depopulation. Right now the city is like 2 times the population of this region. It's more than 600,000 people. and they are working together with, I mean, they are connecting the sectors of university, which is helping the students to find out the talents, to push them to start the companies, and when they are ready, they push them on the market, on the commercial sector, and the city and the Chamber of Commerce, and everyone is involved in that process, and that's what I found really interesting. And this inspiration we directly put into our project. So we are working together with the Chamber of Commerce. They know that they have to help to start up the new jobs, especially in the creativity sector, because then we can connect it on the other sectors which are already here. And of course, the first Exchange EU in Leipzig was great inspiration for us. The delegation was combined also. We had the head of a small SME or a startup. We had a representative of the mining company. We had the Chamber of Commerce. So we were, let's say, a good mix of communities in Leipzig. And I'm glad that the representative of the mining company was there as well, because we are having maybe soft transition in Karlovy Vary region, because the mining company is going through the transition as well. And right now they will not lose anyone or no employees. They will try to keep them and change the jobs for them and change the way the way they are having their business. Of course, the company has to invest into new technologies. They already did. One of the coal pit went through, let's say, successful revitalization as a hydro. So there is a beautiful, huge lake, and right now we all in the region are looking for how to use the lake coasts and how to adapt it for the business and for the locals. And I think that will help also the depopulation of the region, which we are facing right now. Every year we see the numbers are going down, and we see the great approaches from abroad, especially from Leipzig. So that was also for me the trigger to join the second exchange in Stará Zagora. What was really inspiring was their hydrogenic project, which will maybe help half of the country to bring up the new energy for the country. So inspiring how they are dealing with this topic. And our neighbors in Ústí region, they have also this main topic as a hydro, and I think that's inspiring for us as well. And of course, Karlovy Vary region will follow this strategy, because hydro is one of the solutions for the future. So great inspiration, really helpful. I'm grateful for you for organizing it, and thank you again for that.
Thank you very much, Joseph, for your words. Emma, I want to come to you. You have participated in many exchanges, or you have not only participated but facilitated them, and have been now also hearing here these insights. Say what? How can knowledge exchange facilitate an effective just transition process? What are your experience there?
Thanks, Martz. I think the key is actually tapping the knowledge and experiences on the ground. That's what Exchange EU was about. Alex said it, you're all experts in some way, or you need to engage experts who are on the ground, who are also helping to implement the projects. But I think those tangible on-the-ground experiences of trying to figure out how to do the implementation bode lessons that can then be shared with others. And the knowledge exchange was quite useful, because those who are on the ground doing it are the ones who can ask the right questions. They have the experience to understand what's working and not, and they can ask the right questions to then learn from them accordingly. Exchange EU is a demand-driven program. It came about because regions asked for it, and what's really come to fruition is that the regions know what has to happen, they're trying to figure out how to get there, and it's through the experimentation of going through and implementing their just transitions and then learning from each other that those implementations are happening. It's great to hear the tangible examples of what you took home, and I would only try to encourage that exchange to continue happening as each level of your transition process occurs, because as you all rightly said, it's just the beginning, and I think there'll be challenges every step along the way. And the community that's been supported by CRIT, by JTP, by Exchange EU should only be continued in order to keep that knowledge flowing and ensure that everybody can benefit from the collective expertise.
Thank you very much, Emma, and yeah, thanks a lot to our panelists and sharing insights. And you've said it's important to know that you're not alone in the process and that there are many others. And I think Exchange EU helped to do that, but likewise does a conference like this one or the JTP conference, which regularly come up and give the opportunity to exchange. So I would also like to invite all the people in the audience to connect with our panelists here and all the other regions, and to build this network and to continue the exchange. I hope also for you that you can continue the exchange with your visiting or hosting region, your partner that you have connected with, to ask the questions that will still come up, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, please give a warm applause for our panelists. Thank you very much. And I think there are some presents from the Karlovy Vary region for you to take along. So thanks to Wojtek. Yes, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. I hope that gave a bit of an impression of what we have been doing in the exchanges and what people experienced in the exchange and what they've taken with them. As said, and I can switch now here to this microphone again. We have a third and last part, which is giving an outlook to what's also out there and what other programs exist for you, for regions that have participated in Exchange EU, for regions which not yet have participated in an exchange program, but still would be interested in support. And there is a couple of things that we have out there. Emma, can I, you left the stage, but can I please invite you back? And also I would like to ask to the stage Robert Pollock, who's the Senior Advisor of the CRIT Secretariat, and the three of us will give some insight. We have some slides here to show. Yeah, you can also take a seat if you like, and then we switch spots. The first one that I would like to introduce, and maybe some of you have participated in the Just Transition Platform conference in April, and there have shown this slide before. So one of our new programs is the JTP Groundwork, which we're doing on behalf of DG Regio, and it's a program for technical assistance. And beginning of the year, we have started a call for applications, and we have selected 6 beneficiaries that you can see here on the slide. 6 regions which we will be supporting with with our technical advice on the challenges that they have until the end of the year. And we support them. We provide a platform with workshops and events on and to build strategies in the challenges that they're facing. Maybe to give a quick insight. So we have in Poland the region of Łódźkie, where we support them in developing a scheme to support and attract SMEs. Here in Karlovy Vary region, in the city of Sokolov, we support them in a strategy on stakeholder engagement and communication. In Latvia, the beneficiary is the University of Riga and the regions of Vidzeme and Galle, which are peat regions, and we develop and support them in strategies for a green transition of the peat sector. In Portugal, the region of Medio Tejo, we provide support, technical advice on the green and digital growth strategy. In Sweden and Västerbotten, we support them in attracting workers for the green economy. And then last but not least, in Romania, the Geo Valley, the areas of Hunedoara, Gori, and Dolgi, we try to support them in stimulating investments in the green transition. Just to give a little bit of a glimpse of what we are doing, and there will be a lot of information coming in the next couple of months, and this is the start of the JTP groundwork. There is supposed to be more in the coming years, so that is something to look out. We'll have a lot of regional events that are open to many, so possibilities to participate in the discussion, but also then to participate in the next call for projects. I would now, Emma, hand it to you to some other support mechanisms that we're providing within the Just Transition platform.
Thank you, Moritz. I'll give a quick overview of some of the additional services. So the first of which is JTP Knowledge Hub. Here, we're going to provide toolkits and case studies. You heard from the exchange participants how having tangible examples of innovative projects was really helpful. So with these resources, we strive to make you aware of additional examples that you could learn about and potentially leverage for your own projects, both in terms of case studies with examples from across Europe, as well as specific toolkits on topics that maybe haven't been brought up as much as yet, but we've still been identified as important. We're working on these, and you should start to see them rolling out on the JTP website in the coming months. Additionally, we still have some room for new toolkit topics. So if there's a topic that you don't see on this list that you know would be useful to have a bit of guidance on, please send us an email. You see the address below, or come talk to me. I would love to hear about it from you to see how best we can support you with the transition process. And an additional service is JT Peers. This has two streams, JT Peers Exchange. Maybe it sounds familiar, a peer-to-peer exchange program to facilitate in-person and online exchanges. The exchanges are region to region, but a little bit different than Exchange EU, and there's also the option to have a region to expert exchange. So we've also had a call go out for experts on just transition that can sort of act as a key informant for a specific region on a tangible topic. The applications for JT Peers Exchange recently closed a few weeks back, and we're in the midst of evaluating the matches between different regions and experts. The additional thing that we're working on is JT Peers Experts, a web database of professionals working on just transition across Europe. This is to come hopefully later in the year, but also we've been told would be a helpful resource for regions to have the expert on a topic to be able to connect with. So please stay tuned for that. And these resources are available for all JTF regions across the EU member states. If you have questions about JT Peers, you see we have an email address for that below. Again, please feel free to come talk to myself, to Moritz, our colleague Victoria. If you'd like to learn any more about JT Peers, JT Groundwork, JTP Knowledge Hub, we're happy to discuss. Thanks so much. I'll hand it over now to Robert to talk about the services that the CRIT Secretariat offers.
Good morning, colleagues and friends. It's lovely to see some friendly and familiar faces in the audience. As Emma said, I'm just going to give a very quick overview of the services which START provides. And START is the technical assistance service provided by the coal regions in transition. Since 2020, we've been working with 14 regions, and we do envisage that there will be another call for additional regions to support later this year or very early in 2024. I'm also going to be talking about the support services provided by the European Investment Bank. We work very closely with the EIB. We work closely with all our colleagues providing technical support, but I will give some insights into the tools they provide. So just by way of context, START provides technical assistance to Coal Plus regions. So it's very much focused on regions that are... Run, run. I wonder if that's... Do you know the housekeeping rules? Is it a test? I'm a great believer in carrying on, so carry on through. I'm sure we've survived worse. So START focuses on coal plus regions, so it's very much focused on coal, lignite, peat and oil shale regions, and that is quite an important differentiator from the groundwork project, which looks at the wider carbon-intensive regions in the EU. The 4 key areas of support are strategy development, governance and planning, project development, and capacity development. I think what makes START relatively unique is that we spend a lot of time understanding the context of each region. So before we actually start to implement our technical assistance, we actually visit the regions for a week and speak with key stakeholders, understand the institutional context, and then begin to refine the service. On the right-hand side of the screen are illustrative support areas. I won't go into them in great detail, but the second point I think is very powerful, and we've heard about that this morning, local involvement, engaging people. And I think transition has to be people-centered, and that's one thing which we strive to do. It's sometimes more challenging in environments which are top-down, but I think, as we heard earlier, people should not feel isolated. They are not alone. We are in this together, and so engaging multiple partners at the local level is a big part of our process. The services, the why, the who, the what, and how. I think it's important to stress that we recognise that START is only one instrument amongst a menu of support packages. So we've heard about Exchange EU this morning, but we've also heard about groundwork. I'll be telling you more about the European Investment Bank instruments we work with. So it's very much about complementarity. And we always ensure that what we're doing supports and is complementary to other initiatives, and we have a dialogue about the regions we work with. Yeah, it's this button. If I press the button, the alarm goes off. Meet Yagoda, one of the START experts. In terms of who we work with, in the first round of START, we've been delivering START since 2020. In the first round, there was a very strong emphasis on regional government, local government. But this second round, which we are now delivering, is very much focused on a broader set of actors, NGOs, trade unions, regional development associations. We provide usually about 50 to 100 days, and I think one of the points I really want to stress is about co-creation. It's a partnership approach. It's not just us coming to the region and working in isolation. It's about working in partnership so that we leave... That button again. That was shorter. That's good. So we want to leave deliverables that are useful and are relevant. Anyway, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the regions we've worked with. As I said, we are into the second phase of START. But in the first phase, we worked with 7 regions. They were a very diverse set of regions. Some were quite rural, some were quite urban, some were quite mono-industrial, some had a mixed industrial base. So it was a very important learning exercise for us, how we tailored technical assistance to different environments. But as Padraig said, we worked in Ireland, and that was a wonderful experience working with the communities of the Midlands. We've worked in, for example, Asturias, looking at energy transition strategies for its industrial base. In Silesia, we looked at option development for brown field sites, post-industrial sites. So we've worked in a range of contexts and provided a range of services. Anyhow, there we go. Coffee is coming. This time around, the second phase, again, it's a mixture of regions, different themes, but this time we're working in some new member states for us. So we're working in Bulgaria, we're working in Hungary, and we're also working in Italy. Again, providing a range of services in a range of contexts. As I said, we have delivered a very wide range of products and deliverables, well over 20 pieces of support material, and they're all available online, so I would encourage you to go online and look at them. Just to make the plug again, we anticipate having a third round of start support near the end of this year. We'll be making the call, so please, if you are interested, talk to me during the coffee or check out the website. As I mentioned earlier, we also work very closely with the European Investment Bank. So I would just like to talk about their three key instruments, Target, Jaspers, and Elena. Now, we have EIB representatives today. There is Michael, who's waving at me. I don't know how useful it is for you, but Michael's very approachable. We also have Sarunas, and so if you do want to hear more about EIB support instruments, they are available, and please check out their website. The first one I'd like to reference is Target. Now, that's a dedicated instrument for coal, peat, and oil shale regions, and it's very much looking at support for projects in the area of clean energy and energy efficiency. And they will provide their own in-house experts. And I must say, I've always been impressed by the depth and width of European Investment Bank experience and knowledge. So it's a great offer, something to tap into, especially if you are considering clean energy and energy efficiency projects. The next program I'd just like to draw your attention to is Jaspers, and it's very much around providing advice and support on projects that can be funded through cohesion monies. So it includes the Just Transition Fund, but all projects within the locus of cohesion funding can be supported. And again, you can tap into their in-house expertise for developing your projects. And having spoken with regions that have used it, it is a very much appreciated service. The final instrument I would like to mention is Elena. And Elena provides support in the areas of energy efficiency, sustainable residential development, and urban transport and mobility, such as e-mobility. And this is quite interesting. This is different from the two other instruments, because what you receive is a grant of 90% to cover the cost of either recruiting new staff or actually bringing in your own consultants. So it's different. You're tapping into the extensive experience of the EIB, but you can actually develop your own staff resource, and so you are really developing your own capacity. So as I mentioned, the funds can be used for a wide range of projects related to those activities above. Okay, before the alarm goes off again, I'm going to stop, and I'm not sure if we have time for questions, but I hope you found that useful. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert, and I don't know what you did with the it was all working fine before. So, okay, thank you very much. Let me just, this is our last slide, exactly. So, thank you very much. We're coming to an end. I hope you got some interesting insights into the findings of the program, some insights from participants, and also from additional support services which are out there. I would like to encourage you to visit our website. You can use or scan the QR code here, and as said, we have a brochure there which explains the overall findings. Again, a little bit what Emma has shown you in the beginning. There is leaflets, information leaflets for each of the exchanges and what has been discussed and what the main findings were in those exchanges. We have a range of video material, including the one you've seen here. So yeah, please have a look for additional information on the website. And then I would close the session with thanking the European Commission, especially DG Energy, for supporting us in the Exchange EU program, or in having us facilitating Exchange EU, but also the other Commission DG Regio for the programs that we're supporting there. I would like to thank the Coal Regions in Transition Secretariat for organizing this great event, and of course I would like to thank the Karlovy Vary region for this beautiful stage here and for having us in their beautiful region. I would like to thank the panelists and the speakers. I would like to thank the audience for participating here, and also the audience that has participated online. And I wish you a very interesting and good rest of the day and rest of the conference. Thank you very much.
2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are online also for the viewers. Maybe outside. So also hello to the online viewers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the annual political dialogue. It's a pleasure, and I'm really honored to be here today in one of the most beautiful cities in the world, in Karlovy Vary. Here in a beautifully renovated building of Emperor's, which is a really amazing building and magnificent. This building was built and opened in 1895, and it was thanks to the project of two architects, Felmer and Elmer, and it was really a European company which was working on buildings in Vienna, in Salzburg, in Zurich, in Berlin, in Odessa, in Bratislava, in Budapest. This architecture was really famous. They were focused on theater buildings. They were really reliable. And preparing and reading about them, there was one fact that when their budget and their task timeline was short, they returned the savings to the investors. They loved them.
coal regions. We discussed several topics related to the just energy transition, such as Europe's energy independence, EU funding, and financial initiatives for the just energy transition, as well as green technologies that help to make the change happen. Two things particularly struck me. First, the continued commitment to phasing out coal in a fair and timely manner. Second, how regions and stakeholders, despite all the differences and particularities, can truly change and learn from each other. And I'm inspired and proud of our common efforts. The strong relationship and cooperation with coal, peat, and oil shale regions, so-called coal plus regions, is key to achieving climate neutrality in the EU by 2050. The European Commission is continuously committed to support the transition of the regions, both. The Just Transition Mechanism was established to ensure that the energy transition is fair and just, leaving no one behind. It provides targeted support to help mobilize around 55 billion euros over the period 2021 to 2027 in the most affected regions. And this will alleviate the socio-economic impact of the transition, and it will maximize the benefits and opportunities for workers, companies, and citizens. In particular, the Just Transition Fund, with a budget of 19.2 billion euros, supports economic diversification and reconversion of relevant regions. 26 member states are already in the implementation phase of their territorial Just Transition plans, which can be complemented with other EU funding sources, such as the Innovation Fund, the Modernization Fund, Cohesion funding, the dedicated sub-programs of the LIFE programme, and the Resilience and Recovery Facility. Moreover, regions in transition are also supported through tailored technical assistance programs, such as START, under the Coal Regions in Transition initiative. In addition to the financial help, we support creating a community of coal regions. Most of you have probably already attended the biannual Just Transition platform that takes place in Brussels, and that gathers stakeholders from coal and carbon-intensive areas to exchange good practices and learn from each other's experiences. This event is yet another occasion for representatives of these regions to meet and deepen their cooperation, helping to make this transition a success. The deliberate and unjustified Russian invasion of Ukraine has made it clear that we need to accelerate our energy transition. We need to make our energy independent from Russian fossil fuels, centered on renewable sources and energy efficiency. There is no long-term energy mix where coal and the fossil fuels are economically viable. During the recent energy crisis, a few member states had to put coal power plants back into security reserve or delayed their closing. However, this is only a temporary emergency measure. All the member states, in fact, remain committed to their coal phase-out plans and dates. This testifies that Europe's coal phase-out is well on track, and that the transition away from fossil fuels towards renewable energies has not been interrupted by the crisis. This is the result of common efforts by the European Commission and the member states to rapidly diversify our energy sources. Through the REPowerEU plan, launched last year in response to the hardships and disruption caused by Russian invasion of Ukraine, we encouraged saving energy, produce clean energy, and diversify our energy supply. The plan accelerates our Green Deal ambitions on improving energy efficiency and renewable deployment, and contributes to the achievement of a just energy transition. Supporting coal regions was particularly crucial in these times of crisis to ensure energy security while keeping our commitment to the climate objectives. And I'm glad to witness the success of the Coal Regions in Transition initiative, which has been taken as a model for regions in the West and Ukraine. However, just transition is not only a European necessity. The European Commission is glad to contribute to the deployment of a global platform for coal regions, covering 8 countries outside the EU. This will be a useful channel to share knowledge on policies and approaches for a just transition at the international level. The EU also supports the Just Transition Energy Partnership concept initiated by G7 members, which led to the signing of ambitious deals on energy transition with South Africa in 2021 and with Indonesia and Vietnam last year. Just transition is a necessary component of a successful clean energy transition at the local, regional, European, but now also international level. And for this reason, I am happy to discuss with you today how to better support and deliver on the energy transition, leaving no region and no person behind, and maximizing the benefits for every citizen. So thank you, and I'm looking forward to the discussion at today's annual political dialogue.
Thank you, Ms. Simpson. Next guest couldn't attend this event. She's Elisa Ferreira, EU Commissioner for Cohesion and Reforms, but she has pre-recorded a video message for us. So I would like to kindly ask our organizer to play the video.
Dear friends and representatives of coal regions, dear Kadri, dear Commissioner Kadri Simpson, dear participants in this annual political dialogue of the Coal Regions in Transition Initiative, it is my sincere pleasure to address for the very first time this important gathering. My warm thanks to Commissioner Kadri Simpson for the invitation. I could not attend in person, but I very much wanted to associate myself to the event. The Coal Regions in Transition Initiative played a key role in preparing the ground for the Just Transition Fund and the Just Transition Mechanism. It raised awareness and put the challenges faced by coal regions in the agenda. It also helped to put the focus on the challenges faced by peat and shale oil regions and by regions heavily dependent on greenhouse gas emissions. Our work, your work, paid off. The Just Transition Fund, for which I am responsible, and the Just Transition Mechanism are central instruments of the European Green Deal. After years of hard work, we now have 67 territorial Just Transition plans in place, supporting 93 regions all across Europe. These plans reflect very ambitious commitments. For example, thanks to the Just Transition Fund, 26 member states have now submitted plans with a concrete date and concrete steps for the phasing out of coal, as well as alternatives for economic development and job creation for the people living in these areas. Now, our focus must shift from planning to implementation. I am aware of the challenge this entails, but we should be guided by the opportunities it creates. And there are already many good examples of very good practice. The first project financed by the Just Transition Fund was approved in Estonia last November, reconverting an area that is dependent on shale oil, and the first stone of this reconversion will be laid tomorrow. And this is very good news, I think. And Sweden is on its way to selecting projects accounting for the majority of their funds by the end of this year, which will help the decarbonization of its most industrialized counties. In all other member states, the coming months will be absolutely crucial. Good projects are being developed. They must be rapidly delivered. The European Commission has been helping member states and promoters and is ready to continue to help through the administrative support under cohesion funds, through the Coal Regions in Transition Initiative, through the technical support instrument, and above all, by interchange of experiences through the Just Transition platform. For example, the Just Transition platform groundwork provides targeted help for implementation of Just Transition projects. The Just Transition peers taps into the expertise and experience accumulated across all Just Transition Fund regions to find solutions for common problems, common challenges. And the Just Transition platform conferences gather twice a year all stakeholders from around Europe to share their knowledge, expertise, experience, and to discuss how to improve our instruments and the way they are delivered. All this support is available to all Just Transition Fund regions and will continue throughout the lifetime of the Just Transition Fund. So in conclusion, thank you all for the leadership you have already shown. We count on your commitment to help us make a success of the Just Transition Fund in its pivotal role to ensure that the transition to a climate-neutral economy and in Europe will be fair for all, and no one, in fact, is left behind. We in the European Commission have been and will be ready to do all we can to support you. Let us choose the very best projects. Let us implement them quickly. And let us communicate the successes so that citizens know and benefit from the good work we are doing. I wish you a very, very fruitful discussion. Thank you very much.
I also thank to the Commissioner for the video, and the last keynote speaker for this high-level session is the Deputy Prime Minister of the Czech Republic and the Ministry of Regional Development and Digitization, or Interior Affairs. I mean, Ivan Bartoš, welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, today I have the honor, along with my colleagues and with two commissioners, to inaugurate an open panel at the annual political dialogue. And I would like to take this opportunity to greet you all here today. We have gathered here on such a unique event, and I believe, as the audience is here and the guests, of an event of European significance, to debate, reflect upon and evaluate the progress achieved in the process of decarbonizing the economy and, of course, transforming coal regions. The Czech Republic recognizes the necessity to respond to climate changes and appreciates the initiative of the European Union and all its member countries. Our government has declared the end of coal mining in 2033, with the last hard coal mine in the Moravian Silesian region closing in 2025. Lignite mines in Ústí and Karlovy Vary regions have the prospect of mining coal until 2033, but they are already not extracting coal in the volumes as before. And due to those facts, the coal regions need assistance that will help them to succeed in today's world conditions and initiate further prospective development in these regions. Conversely, the Czech Republic continues its effort to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and strengthen the resilience of the system through gradual diversification in both segments, the economy, but also in the energy sector. The development of renewable sources, energy storage, smart grid management, and others are crucial, and we had a chance to this morning. Stability also supports the development of technological zero emission sources, including those non-renewable. Have different impacts individual regions. For a long time, this source of mineral wealth, which is Karlovy Vary regions for sure, but also for the prosperity of the Czech Republic of the country, and it's time to pay to them. And the Moravian Silesian region, which have a long history of coal mining, that has been a backbone to their economies for many years. And these regions find themselves in a challenging transitional period. And the Ministry of Regional Development, which I'll also represent here, and the government of Czech Republic, both are aware of the structural problems facing this region, and that we have to support them regions in a long-term strategy, which is represented here as a restart, restructuring strategy. But as well, those regions need assistance for their resolutions, and it must be targeted no matter of the big strategy is, because those regions, they do have a significant differences. And those cannot be, let's say, umbrella approach targeted, because as the other European regions, and we had a chance to talk with individual representative of coal mine regions, got its own problems, its specific, its nature. Our task, of course, as the politicians and the central government, is to support institutions and organizations in the coal regions themselves who are making the change on the ground. And it was mentioned here by Commissioner Ferreira, which was one of my big partners during our presidency, that now we are to turn from the planning to implementing and actually getting the change done. And I value very much the effort of local mayors, regional representatives, but as well as the local civic organizations or businesses, who all of them are participating on delivering that change. And I'm especially glad to people who are working on the local and regional level that do cooperate. And even today, they can meet peer-to-peer, or they can meet people from other European regions, as well as with experts who are working on national or European level, because sharing the experiences, also on designing the projects, how to use the money in a smart way on such a short time that it's given to us to 2026. I think this is the real value of what we are trying to achieve here today, but also the real value of the European cooperation. And of course, we are aware of the difficulties, whether it's economic, energy related, or social, and that for sure cannot be solved in this short time horizon. So we are very pleased that there was a just transition mechanism established, which undoubtedly is here to help this region. Obviously, and it was mentioned here as well, two would not solve the situation by itself, but for sure it will help to facilitate that ongoing transformation process with other instruments and politics that are currently on the ground. And of course, and it was mentioned many times, that the limited duration of Just Transition Fund and its straightened milestones, it could be a tricky thing, but I like the Euro speech, but we as the politicians usually, it's a challenge. And even Ursula von der Leyen at the very beginning of our presidency understood that we are facing difficulties in areas, the war that's currently being led by Russia against Ukraine, but she said, we can make it. We can combine those things together and help each other with the significant support, especially in funding, but also with methodology from the European Commission. We call those times not only for the Czech Republic, but also for the whole Europe. And after the or can understand, what's happening in Europe, there was always a little crisis regarding something, but and post-recovery and the really shapes what we live into, how we plan our future regarding our resource situation, technological independence here in Europe, and just have to choice. And I believe even the goals that we are committed to are a significant part of that effort, which is decarbonization, which is to fulfill climate commitments, and and that's an important part because people are scared of changes. Of course, the COVID never affected citizens understanding what we do, what they should trust, what they should allow as a future. So that motto that no one should be left behind or be scared of change is very important. And of course, the private and social fund, this is another tool how we can tackle that. I'm going to be part of this conference because the transition community is also sharing and exchanging experiences. Represent for sure an excellent opportunity to transformation and change with colleagues from across Europe, and again, of course, a vibrant, inspiring insight for the future work. Therefore, I ask you to enjoy this conference and find time also to take work in Czech towns. So thank you and enjoy the conference.
Thank you, Mr. Minister, for the speech. My are charged, and I will be trying to keep on track today, which is our charge with the conventional energy supply. We will change it in the future. We will have a panel discussion right now, and we invited for the panel discussion 2 guests. I would like to invite them on the floor. The first is Thomas Schmidt, who is a Minister for Regional Development in the Saxony region in Germany. And the second one is Peter Balík, Minister of Investment, Regional Development and from Slovakia. Welcome. Our effort in this panel discussion was to discuss the latest development in the European Union on a high political level. As you see, we have a high political level here. We have European Commission here. We have ministries. We have governors. And this panel discussion will also involve you in a discussion. So after I will ask a few questions and we will discuss some few topics in the beginning. Please free to join us, raise your hand, and we'll give you or the microphone, or you can shout on us your question if you would like to be heard and you would like to discuss some important topic. The panel discussion is framed around the topic of the energy, the dilemma between the security of European Union, which was a few months ago, more than a year, dependent on fossil fuels from Russia, which invaded Ukraine, and the European Union started with sanctions against Russia and started to fasten up the way from fossil fuels to renewable energies, to energy savings, and to diversification of the energy portfolio in the European Union. We are going to discuss this with our guests, and I would like to give floor at first to Thomas Schmidt, who asked me to also welcome you at the conference and raise one of the questions for the panel discussion right at the beginning. So, Mr. Schmidt, as I promised you, the floor is yours.
Ich werde in Deutsch sprechen. Vielen Dank überhaupt für die Möglichkeit, hier teilnehmen, liebe Frau Kommissarin, liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen, meine Damen und Herren. Ich bin Vertreter des Europäischen Ausschusses der Regionen, also ein Ausschuss, ein Parlament, was 300 Regionen in ganz Europa zusammenfasst. Und wir haben in ganz Europa die Aufgabe, diesen Transformationsprozess hin zu einer dekarbonisierten Industrie zu bewältigen. Aber die besondere Herausforderung liegt natürlich in den Kohleregionen, denn hier ist es nicht nur ein Wandel der Industrie, ein Wandel auch der Energieversorgung in der gesamten Gesellschaft, sondern es ist wirklich ein Neuaufbau von Wirtschaft, von Wertschöpfung am Ende des Erhalts des Wohlstands in dieser Region. Und deshalb muss der besondere Fokus auf diese Kohleregion sein. Und auf der anderen Seite dürfen wir aber auch die anderen Regionen in Europa nicht vergessen. Das zeigt, wie komplex diese Herausforderung ist. Und für mich hat es 4 Kategorien. Die Nachhaltigkeit hat der immer 3 Kategorien, also Ökonomie, Soziales und die Umweltfrage. Die Umweltfrage muss ich nicht erläutern, dass der Klimawandel gestoppt werden muss. Darüber, denke ich, sind wir uns alle einig. Der ökonomische Umbau der Wirtschaft, der Energieversorgung, das ist unser Thema, was wir lösen müssen, und zwar indem wir neue Industrien in die Kohleregion hineinbringen, möglichst Dinge, die wir im Wandel sowieso lösen müssen. Das heißt Wasserstoffwirtschaft, das heißt der ganze Recyclingwirtschaft, das heißt das Thema neue Formen des Baus. Das nächste ist der soziale Aspekt. Hier, wir müssen die Menschen in diesen Prozess mitnehmen, wir müssen in Ausbildung, in Weiterbildung investieren, wir müssen die Leute befähigen, in der neuen Wirtschaft ihre Zukunft zu sehen. Und wie gesagt, noch ein 4. Aspekt dazu, das ist ein politischer, und den sollten wir sehr, sehr ernst nehmen. Wenn wir in dieser Zeit in die Welt hinausschauen, war es, glaube ich, noch nie so wichtig, ein starkes Europa zu haben wie zurzeit. Und wenn es uns nicht gelingt, die Regionen und die Menschen in den Regionen in diesen Transformationsprozess mitzunehmen, dann werden Europa schwächen, werden europakritische Kräfte immer stärker werden in diesen Regionen, und deshalb müssen wir diesen komplexen Prozess auch mit den Menschen vor Ort, mit den Regionen vor Ort, vor Ort gestalten. In Europa. Dafür brauchen wir Diskussion von in diskutiert. Dafür brauchen wir um diesen Transformationsprozess am Ende erfolgreich umzusetzen. Glaube ich, wir finden die Lösung für die Energieversorgung, für die Lösung gibt es, aber man braucht Instrumente, die Europäische Kommission, die Europäische Union. Vielen Dank.
Thank you very much. And because all of the key speakers have a floor, I would like to also offer you, Mr. Balik, some words in the beginning.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. I'm really happy to be here with you and to discuss the topic of the Just Transition. Slovakia has 3 eligible regions for the Just Transition Fund, and we are talking about the transition already from 2016. In these regions. So there are very high expectations about the Just Transition Fund, and we are right now actually starting to implement and use the resources. That's why this is a very unique moment. We have a lot of participants in the audience from the Slovak regions as well. And I must confess that it's very important for us to show the message to these regions that the funds are right now here, and we are starting to implement the Just Transition Fund that we have been all waiting for since several months. Slovakia is unique in the transition process, mainly because of the fact that this year, 2023, for us is the year when we are fully phasing out extraction of coal in Slovakia. We are shutting down our coal mines fully, and we have not changed this decision also due to the current crisis, energy crisis. Of course, it will have significant socio-economic impacts. Our industry is based on fossil fuels. We will further need to use gas, but in terms of the coal, we are committed also as the government to fully shutting down coal mines in Slovakia this year. What we are looking at as some substitution for the coal in Slovakia are renewable sources. And this is an important topic for us and an important topic for the Just Transition Fund. We would like to feature the Just Transition Fund in Slovakia with geothermal energy. Slovakia has a significant potential for using geothermal energy, especially in the eastern part of Slovakia. There are several drills already that have been accomplished, approximately 3 kilometers deep, with the heat of the water of 150 Celsius degrees. So this can be nicely actually utilized in the eastern part of Slovakia, also in the central heating system. Actually, we are planning to fund a project which is going to fully phase out also the burning of coal in one of the power plants in second largest city of Slovakia, Košice, and using and substituting this coal with geothermal energy. And this is a project that we are fully focusing at from the point of view of the Just Transition Fund. The total investment cost of the project will be approximately 85 million euro, and we have already started on working on project preparation. The beneficiaries already have their environmental impact assessments ready. The property rights for the property for the pipelines is already settled down. So there is basically nothing ahead of us that is going to slow down the process of utilizing geothermal energy in Slovakia. And I think this is an important message that we want to share with you. Renewables are important, and we are also trying to use former brownfields, coal mining brownfields, for placing photovoltaic panels to substitute the shutting down of the coal mines in Slovakia. This is the supply side of energy, but we are also focusing on the demand side from the Just Transition Fund, and we are trying to reduce energy consumption in JTF eligible regions through investments of financial instruments into the increasing of energy efficiency of public buildings. And there are several dozen of million euro which will flow into the JTF regions for this purpose.
Thank you. The first question for this panel discussion concerning the energy will be addressed to all of you. I would like to ask you in the beginning to be brief because we don't have a whole day. European Union a few years ago came with a vision for its citizens called the Green Deal, with the vision of the European Union which is green and digital. This vision was slowed down by the crisis during 2021, and the European Union reacted with recovery fund with other tools. The crisis started last year in February 24th, and the European Union reacted with policy funds in a tools for just mechanism and so on. What would you say is your lesson learned for the European Union in the last few years, and what have you learned as an institution you are representing, and also as a for implementing this vision? And I would like to give a first to the lady and to the level.
We can say that that we all remember how it looked like going through the most severe energy crisis of the generations that we witnessed during the past 2 years. And our reading of this crisis is that it was not due to the fact that we started our green transition, but if we would have advanced more, the impact of manipulation that Russia introduced would have been significantly milder. We were too dependent on imports, fossil fuel imports, and just to remind you, 45% of coal that EU27 imported came from Russia. 40% of natural gas came from Russia. On top of that, we were also the significant market for their oil products. And there were many renowned energy experts who told that you will not survive. There will be blackouts, there will be curtailment of industry, because losing overnight these volumes will be mission impossible to replace. So this was the background of our Repower EU plan that we presented last spring. And indeed, there was no silver bullet. There were dedicated steps, extraordinary measures that allowed us step by step to replace Russian imports with trusted alternatives, but also saving a very significant part here. And where we are right now, the prices for natural gas are down to pre-war levels. Our gas, underground gas storage is full. We don't receive any coal from Russia anymore. And that was also visible in our coal consumption. Poland and Germany, they were the biggest markets where coal consumption was reduced, because they were, until the war started and until we presented our first package of sanctions, also the main receivers of Russian coal. And altogether, we do have 18 member states who are still using coal, and out of these, 15 reduced their coal consumption last year. And as a result, last winter, renewables produced more energy, electricity, than fossil fuels. Of course, that also created new challenges. We had to address the flexibility. We had to ask our consumers, households, but mainly industry, to react to the peak hours, because demand response is now very important. And they did so. So we had also extraordinary measures to address the challenges that we had in the electricity market. And overall, we have not changed our target. On the contrary, we have accelerated our green transition goals. Right now, member states are finalizing their draft national and energy plans. And across Europe, by 2030, our energy mix will be covered by 42.5% by renewables. And this is not only power generation, but also transport and industry. So this is very challenging. But we do have some member states more advanced and others who will not meet this target, but they will have their individual targets. And there is a strong interest to invest into renewables, because I just remind you that it was last year, the beginning of 2022, when our companies sent to Russia tens of billions of euros monthly to pay for fossil fuel imports. Now we are covering a large share of this with homegrown renewables, and this is way to also to plan our future investments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister, Mr. Bartosz.
I would stress out few things. First, that effort that was given by ministers responsible for industry and energy, especially when the war started, but all the time, was enormous. And I'm happy we as a Europe can resolve many things that we wouldn't believe it's possible an understanding and agreement between 27 countries, not in the peacetime, I would say. And all those crises, COVID and also the Russian attack on Ukraine, showed us how important it is to cooperate, even though we all have interests, because we are in many cases also concurrent, considering the industry, considering what we import. So this was the push together. And I believe in this particular part, Europe stick together mostly in all the cases that we are trying to resolve, no matter what was the energy or migration crisis, into our land. The second thing is, and I remember when resilience was a word or term used by NATO. This is something very relevant. Obviously, resilience is the ability to adapt to unknown situation. And in the time of the peace of, like, let's say, growing economy, there is very little reason to evolve. And for many people, when I used to talk to them, explaining them a Green Deal, global climate change, it's something that they cannot touch. You can get to the ground when you talk local politics, right? You don't want to have this chimney next to your door. You don't want to have this noisy street next to your backyard. But it's hard to explain them those global effects of why shall we be carbon neutral and what is a benefit to the local industry to actually go to cutting edge technologies rather than to produce something that's for many people is already ancient technology. But when we talk about diversing the energy sources, right, having economy more self-sufficient in the production of renewables, now everybody get that second reason, that it's not only something that's green and basically I don't have to care, it's got its relevance considering the resilience, the energy security. So that initial purpose that was hard to explain to many people, and I believe we've got ministers here, like talking a Green Deal was almost a swear word, because governments abused it also historically. But when you talk energy security, you know, having a power to your factories, having more homes, energy efficient houses, and it's a question of the money, that if you are, you know, able to pay the expense of the energy that you consume, that's the thing that people see, aha, this is another reason why shall we think of that. And the third thing I want to stress out, so it was a cooperation and resilience and way to adapt, was that if you have no pressure, especially with business modules that are working in current time, you know, even here, and I talk about the depth to the regions, right? But since you had a good business module of being fossil-based production, and there is nothing bad about having a profit when you run a business. So you just maximize the business case of your industry. So why should you invest into transformation when in 10 years you won't see any benefit out of it? So that's why I'm happy that we finally committed to a certain time and the goal, which seemed to be still far away, 2050, but now you have a reason to do this transformation, and of course supported by European Commission funds, right? So why should you evolve, transform if your business module is working perfectly? You had a cheap gas from Russia, you have plenty of workers that you can pay within the region when there is like less salary, and why should you do something when 10 years you can just like, you know, maximize the profit out of the business case? So now we have a reason to do that, and I think this is a strong push, and many of my older colleagues from the government that I met in this 1.5 years, they never said the crisis is not an opportunity. They said only thing that we made historically was worth of it, was either because we were pushed by some monetary situation or because there was a crisis. And those were the significant evolution moves made by countries of European Union, expanding the European Union, you know, facing the crisis together. And that was unique. And I believe we won't forget the lesson learned through the COVID and through the war that's not over yet, in order to like do future things and not get back to old rails. Like 2050 is far away, so we don't have to think about carbon neutral economy because we are not under the pressure. So those three things are important for me.
Thank you. Mr. Barik, the same question for you, for a lesson learned in Slovakia and your ministry, maybe all the EU.
Yes, thank you very much. I think we have 3 lessons learned from the process of the preparation of the Just Transition Fund and the Territorial Just Transition Plan. The first one is related to the capacity of the regions for project preparation. This is still a challenge that we need to help with to the regions, and I welcome very much the support from the European Commission through different kind of instruments such as TSI, JASPERS, and other kinds of technical assistance that should help project beneficiaries to prepare quality projects, because this is something that, especially in Slovakia, we're really lacking on the local, on the regional level. The project preparation and preparation of quality projects, especially large ones, strategic ones, is really like behind. We need to think about this support. Second is related to governance and the cooperation partnership of regions. From the beginning to involve, of course, the municipalities, the regional municipalities, and the several ministries. Just transition is a horizontal issue that to so for us it's important to create on the local and regional level, and to discuss various topics directly with the project beneficiaries, with the municipality, and exchange information what we received from the Commission, so that and then they know exactly what the transition is about and what are the eligible activities. And the third is Slovakia, as I mentioned, is shutting down this year. It will have a socio-economic impact and impact on regions. So we need to target job creation, also with the help of the Just Transition Fund. But what we need also is to increase the attractivity of these regions, to motivate young people and the young generation to remain in those regions, to create value, and not to think about leaving their regions, but really to contribute to the diversification of the economy, also through value-added jobs in the areas of innovation and research and development. And that's why we also included the youth into the programming of the Just Transition Plan. So we discussed with them how they envisage their region in the future.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. I didn't want to interrupt you. I was trying to ask about the lesson learned from the energy crisis in a last year or two. You can think about it. We can get to it later. But the same question for Mr. Schmidt.
Ja, also der Wandlungsprozess ist ja viel komplexer, als wir ihn gerade jetzt hier diskutiert haben. Es kommen ja noch weitere Herausforderungen auf uns zu. Das ist einmal der Übergang in das Zeitalter der Digitalisierung. Riesengroße Herausforderung für die gesamte Gesellschaft. Wir haben in vielen Staaten und Regionen Europas eine Überalterung, also ein Problem also einen demografischen Wandel noch zusätzlich. Und wir haben geopolitische Veränderungen, die zum Stören von Lieferketten geführt haben, die weitere Herausforderungen an Europa, die Mitgliedstaaten und die Regionen gestellt haben. Und auf der einen Seite haben wir die Herausforderungen, auf der anderen Seite können wir aber genau das auch nutzen, um die neue Welt, sage ich jetzt mal, in den Transformationsregionen zu gestalten. Also wir können die Wertschöpfungstiefen wieder erhöhen, also Produktion aus Regionen der Welt, die ausgelagert wurden, wieder zurückholen, um genau sie dort anzusiedeln, wo wir jetzt diesen extremen Transformationsprozess haben. Wir müssen junge Leute dazu motivieren, in diese Region wieder zu ziehen. Also die extrem starke Urbanisierung, also die Wanderung in die Ballungsräume umdrehen, indem wir dort auch die Lebensbedingungen in diesen Regionen so gestalten, dass junge Leute ihre Zukunft dort sehen. Wir machen das in Sachsen so, dass wir in den Transformationsregionen als erstes auch Forschungsinstitute ansiedeln, die sich genau mit den Themen befassen, die begleitend zum Strukturwandel zu lösen sind. Eben, was ich vorhin schon sagte, Kreislaufwirtschaft, Energieversorgung der Zukunft, Leichtbau ist so ein Thema, wird ein großes Kohlefaserforschungszentrum aufgebaut. Also interessante Arbeitsplätze zu schaffen, aber dazu muss allerdings dann auch passen, wie sind meine Kinder untergebracht, wie werde ich medizinisch versorgt, was mache ich eigentlich in meiner Freizeit. Also diesen komplexen Ansatz müssen wir lösen. Also in diesen ganzen Herausforderungen, die wir haben, in Europa und der Welt, können wir aber, wie gesagt, auch Chancen daraus und gleichzeitig Lösungen finden, die genau in den am stärksten betroffenen Regionen für eine Sicherung der Zukunft, des Wohlstandes, der Wertschöpfung in diesen Regionen sorgen.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Kohanek, the same question for you about the lesson learned from the energy crisis in the last year or 2 years, and lesson learned from all the pressure on our citizens in the last 4 or 5 years. So your reflection?
Yeah, that's of course, because I'm governor, that would be regional view. Past 3 years, we lived in a very turbulent environment. We started to prepare the transition plan, and now we faced COVID, the massive, let's say, crisis management we have to focus on. We had to focus afterwards on massive migration care of the Ukrainian refugees, and it means that our capacity was not really sufficient to focus on top 3 priorities, and we still wanted to keep the schedule with preparation of the transformation, because it was, of course, the same priority as the others. The other lesson learned is that what we made as the preparation for transition economic models before the war, the economic model changed very much. We still have in France the same ambition, we still have the same ambition in the Just Transition Fund, but the projects which were calculated on before the war now are in average plus 30%, which is of course a large impact to be for the future. But the opportunities learned from the time the energy crisis was a really strong call for energy saving solutions. It means that not only for classical energy solving solutions, but also for innovative solutions. And I think the speed of the application of the innovations for those solutions was much faster, or is much faster than if it was before the push, according to circumstances. It means it was like energy solutions for housing, for industries, for district heating, because the pressure to save the energy is so high that the solutions came very early, and they are implied also faster than we expected. And of course, the third lesson learned is the much stronger focus on preparation on alternative energy sources, like hydrogen solutions, like industry heating pump solutions for district heating, for example. So altogether, I think it was a great pressure. It was a very difficult time, but I think in the regions, not only in ours, we fulfill
the task, the goals we had planned, and we are continue even stronger than we had before.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you want to get back to the energy crisis context, Mr. Barik?
Yes, thank you very much. As each state, we were also hit by the energy crisis in a significant way. Slovakia, unfortunately, is known with lower absorption capacity of EU funds. We still have around 4 billion euro unspent from the old programming period, and we have actually used this fact also in our favor, which relates also to the energy crisis. We are going to be able, also thanks to the changes in regulation, thanks to the European Commission, to allocate some of this money for compensating energy prices to households and to companies. So part of this money, approximately 1.5 billion euro, will be spent for compensating higher energy prices, which is a huge help, both in terms of tackling the impacts of the energy crisis, second, also in terms of increasing the absorption capacity of the EU funds from the old programming period. But what the energy crisis influenced in terms of the Just Transition Fund as well, it came right in the middle when we were programming, when we were preparing the territorial Just Transition Plan. And we were flexible enough to adjust the territorial Just Transition Plan and the planned activities to this fact. So we have pushed for more focus on decreasing the energy on consumption of energy through various activities on increasing the energy efficiency of buildings. We have allocated more resources into renewable sources. As I mentioned, geothermal energy is one source. And especially because of the energy crisis, this geothermal energy source showed and proved to be economically sustainable compared to the prices of gas and other fossil fuels that were increased due to the energy crisis. So right now, thanks to the grants and thanks to the energy crisis, also such sources as geothermal energy are competitive.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Simpson, what would you say? What is the latest political development on the high level of the European Union, considering the priorities of the European Union? I mean, we are already talking about we should be flexible and adaptable to the changes and think about the time frame. But our barrier also is to have too much priorities, as we have heard. What should be, in your opinion and all the others, what should be the priority in a short-term period? Because there are a lot of vulnerable target groups between our citizens and companies. And what do you think are the 1 or 2 main priorities for the European Union and the member states right now at the moment, next years?
Thank you for the question. I do believe that you are asking me what you just asked, priorities of European Union. It's too broad. It takes 45 minutes at least. So what are our priorities for core regions? I have to respect also my and we all know that the transition in regions is not this year. You are coming from the regions, you have seen that the number of people employed in the sector has decreased. It's very different from the 90s, for example. But now we have dedicated funds to address this challenge. So that the regions will not lose their tax revenues. So that your people will know that there will be employment opportunities also after a year, after 5, after 10, after 20. And with significant help of EU funds, you should have an opportunity to address this challenge. So we do have something at our disposal that was not available just a year ago. Net Zero Industry Act. because our green transition doesn't demand only alternative energy sources. It also demands that we will address the supply chain, so that if we will phase out fossil fuels, most of them imported from third and unreliable partners, we will not create new dependency, that we will import grid components, windmill components, solar panels from single supplier from third country. We have to develop back to Europe. There is the opportunity for you to reskill and your workforce and to attract new investors. And Net Zero Industry Act is still under negotiation with member states, but this clearly provides you an additional tool. And the second initiative that I wanted to mention, many of you have mentioned that there is a regional challenge, because in cold regions, people benefited from district heating, and very often this was very affordable price-wise, because you used waste heat from power plants, and this is going to change. And you can expect that this autumn, European Commission will present an initiative on heat pumps, both large scale, but also heat pumps from individual households, just to accelerate also this transition, and this is something where you can also benefit. And just, well, to wrap up, I do believe that green transition at individual level will create opportunities. Yes, the energy landscape will be very different. We don't have one single thermal power plant who takes care of our energy security. We will have hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands small producers, but that also creates ownership at the regional level, at well, household level, and that also creates awareness. So for us, the educated consumers are also playing a very important part. The consumers who know that there are peaks at the energy consumption and who can react. And in the broader content, this is also something that we will address with our legislation. The very moment when we finalize our negotiations with member states and European Parliament, then member states have to implement that. And that means that as a result of last year's energy crisis, there will be major changes in our legislation just to be better prepared for next crisis, because we don't know how that will look like, but resilience is a key. So we are in the middle of big transformation. Thank you.
Pan Bartoš wanted to react.
Maybe I want to stress out the thing that you mentioned, which was an educated consumer, because we never learn, right? It's in my case as well. I have to say that when we are talking just transition, right? On the other hand, governments got a lot of tools that they could apply on resolving the situation for the households, right? Historically, before the energy crisis, we already had this amount of people in which case we could talk about the energy poverty, right? Either they earn little money or they were living in, let's say, energy not sufficient households. We started as a Czech Republic already. We've got this new green savings light, when we are helping people to have energy efficient housing or having some heating system renewable and work with that. It could work when you are individual owner of the apartment or you just cooperate within the household. There are a significant amount of people who they cannot do anything more to actually get the prices lower because they don't own the house, they are living in a house of flats and stuff. So I believe to work with this individual problem of energy consumption of households, we've got tools in place. Modfold can be used to environment, tackle that pretty good, changing their heating system, alternatives. On the other hand, the JTF and the other tools are the long-term things, and we are helping with this crisis. That's right. And we the purpose of the instrument to current needs. And again, I believe we shall raise a local governments to help social base, right? Help with the transition. Thanking the regions to holding the Czech Republic on the peak of industrial production. And many politicians over the Europe, which I meant, like there is some old heritage on being a miner, right? Work hard in the factory and be eligible for early retiring, but we shall not talk about, and northern states, Sweden, Denmark, when I used to talk to politicians, they never talk about it as a threat of losing a job. They don't just use that, because you actually see that doubt in the head of the people. So on the individual level, you may help them with the crisis, with their energy solution, but in the long term, we shouldn't talk about the region, even the less developed regions, right? Coal regions that are somehow behind the rest of it. We should switch the mindset and say we offer you a better job for more money with a longer life perspective, right? Rather than keep to this old metal heart of the Czech Republic, Ostrava region, because there is nothing to be admired on die early in unhealthy environment, doing the hard job. And sometimes we still play that note, that sentiment towards those people who I'm very grateful and thankful to them regions, but we should not feed that, which goes against what we are trying to achieve. Even though when we talk about the social fund and environmental fund, it's still like those to be helped because they will lose something. And we should say those who will gain of the transformation, better life. And it's hard to switch to that approach. And in many cases, we are, even me, are not the educated consumers in many cases. And we never thought of energy if you are not in energy poverty until the first bill came, right? And when you see the offers, you rarely see something that's less than C of energy efficiency on the market, on like being even promoted to buy, because no one would do it in these times, right? Now it matters, the grades of the energy efficiency of the flats and houses. So it's kind of another lesson learned.
Thank you, Mr. Bartoš. To Mr. Kulhanek and also to Mr. Schmidt and Mr. Balík, the question about preparedness of your regions and member states for the transition. How do you assess up to date the process of implementation of just transition mechanism in the member states or your region, your state? And who do you think is the most vulnerable to the changes? So, years, I mean the companies, for example, dependent on fossil fuels business models, or as we are just talking about people who are on the level of poverty risk. So how do you assess the implementation so far of just transition mechanism? And do you think the goals which are set by the European Union are achievable in time, which is right now, under the time frame of the just transition mechanism, or did anything changed during the last years and we should reconsider the goals and the time frame? What do you think? I will start with Mr. Kulhanek.
Yeah, definitely the economic figures changed, but from the beginning, we are now in a process of submitting the strategic projects which we have for our region, 10, either from public or from private sector. And we keep the schedule until the end of this year to submit all these strategic projects to be evaluated. And then if they are evaluated well, they will start to become into realization. Of course, now we have opening the thematic calls, which are used already for various sectors, because it's not only focused on energy, of course, it's also focused on the social and economic transition. We are now we have open calls for the financial tools for the private sector, which can use the cheap money. I think the real progress, or if we achieve the figures, we will see, let's say, in 1 or 2 years, because now it's still the stage of, let's say, preparation very near before the realization. I think in our case, in region, we have one question solved, and I mentioned it on the closed door session as well, that the more renewable resources are financed and become function, it means the more fast sources we need to stabilize the distribution system. If the sun doesn't shine and if the wind doesn't blow, and these really need following consequent systematic and massive support of the European Union to invest into those stability of the distribution systems, which will affect our future of digitalization, even just transition fund, or any projects financed either from national or European sources, because without the stable energy distribution system, we wouldn't be succeeded.
Thank you very much. Mr. Schmidt?
Ja, also wir sind am Beginn dieser Phase, und wenn wir am Beginn des Weges bereits die Ziele wieder in Frage stellen, ist es, glaube ich, nicht der richtige Ansatz. Also wir brauchen verlässliche Checkpoints, wo wir sagen, was wollen wir in 5 oder 7 Jahren erreicht haben, und dann müssen wir uns ehrlich machen und auch die Entscheidungen evaluieren, vielleicht verändern, in Frage stellen, Neues dazu zunehmen. Aber man sollte nie am Anfang des Weges bereits die Ziele in Frage stellen, sondern Schritt für Schritt den Prozess überprüfen und dann wirklich mit einer ehrlichen Einschätzung sagen, so, wir müssen verschiedene Instrumente verändern. Der Prozess wird nicht funktionieren, davon bin ich zutiefst überzeugt, wenn wir es nur mit Regulierung, mit kleinteiligen Vorschriften gestalten wollen. Also wir müssen die Menschen für den Prozess begeistern. Also ohne Begeisterung werden wir diesen Prozess niemals erfolgreich gestalten. Das ist völlig aussichtslos für mich. Also mit schlechtem Gewissen, mit Frust, mit negativen Ansätzen wird es nicht gelingen. Also müssen wir die Leute dafür begeistern. Und neue Technologien und die Umsetzung neuer Technologien, wirtschaftliche Effekte werden die Menschen, werden die Unternehmer, wird auch den privaten Hausbesitzer dazu motivieren, diese Wege zu gehen. Davon bin ich völlig überzeugt. Ich bin auch Bauminister. Nehmen wir mal den Bereich des Bauens. Wir haben dort sehr, sehr viel energieintensive Bereiche drin. Wenn ich alleine an das Thema Zement denke, das ist so eine stark energieintensive Bereich. Also müssen wir uns die Frage stellen, wie können wir neue Wege beim Bauen gehen. Wir fördern zum Beispiel viel, viel stärker den Holzbau, als es bisher war. Wir fördern die Einführung neuer, innovativer Baustoffe, Carbonbeton, also nicht mit Stahl bewehrten Beton, sondern mit Carbonnetzen, wo man sehr, sehr viel Zement einsparen kann. Wir Wir fördern intelligente Steuerung in den Häusern. Und das fördern meine ich damit nicht immer nur, dass man da eine finanzielle Unterstützung gibt, sondern dass man Wissenstransfer hinein in die Architekten, in die Planer, in die Baufirmen, am Ende zu den Bauherren bringt, um neue Möglichkeiten zu nutzen. Also wir werden diesen Transformationsprozess nur schaffen, wenn wir positive Ansätze haben. Dann noch ein zweites Beispiel. Wir müssen sehr schnell die Frage beantworten, wie können wir bei einer volatilen Energieproduktion die Berge der Überproduktion kappen und die Täler wieder füllen. Und auch dort kann man mit einfachen Möglichkeiten Unternehmer, aber auch Privatleute motivieren. Das ist der Bereich Wärme, das ist der Bereich Kälte, das ist der Bereich Druckluft, der in ganz vielen Unternehmen für drehende Werkzeuge eine ganz, ganz wichtige Rolle spielt. Wenn wir mit intelligenten Netzen, intelligenten Stromzählern variable Strompreise anbieten, wird sofort der Effekt eintreten, dass man seine starken Verbraucher genau in den Zeiten betreibt, wo der Preis am tiefsten ist oder die Produktion halt am höchsten ist. Und ich weiß nicht, wie das in anderen Regionen ist, da muss ich selbstkritisch sagen, da sind wir in Deutschland noch etwas zu langsam, da müssen wir schneller werden, aber es nützt ja nicht zurückzuschauen, sondern wir müssen, wie gesagt, die Leute motivieren, hier nach vorn zu gehen und nur mit dem positiven Ansatz, indem wir die Leute für den Prozess begeistern, werden wir es auch schaffen.
Thank you very much for these enthusiastic words. And Mr. Balik.
Yeah, the clock is ticking, and the time is tight. We have certain deadlines that we need to stick to with the Just Transition until the end of 2026. In terms of the implementation, I would say that the implementation is being launched. The project, I would say that there is a country which is doing really great in terms of project implementation already. The costs are out, but now we have, let's say, 3.5 years to contract the beneficiaries, to prepare the projects, to do the procurement, to implement the projects, and to have them built or finalized by 2026. I have heard, and what I have as well, the proposal from the side of the European Commission, which is to the east, these time constraints so there will be a possibility for a 30% financing of the Just Transition on the European level, which is also going to help decrease the pressure using JTF by 2026. Use this 30% as money that is basically utilized, and it's pretty upfront to you. Slovakia's case was, I mean, we were a bit lucky because we have decided, it was a political decision 3 years ago, that we will have one single operational program Slovakia, and the Just Transition Fund is also included in program Slovakia. I don't think it was, somehow planned, but we were lucky enough to include the Just Transition Fund also in program Slovakia, which helps us to actually streamline the resources for JTF from other priority axes of program Slovakia, meaning if we use resources for priority axis 1, Smarter Europe, we can also show that we are absorbing, or it counts into the absorption of the Just Transition Fund. And in terms of your question that you asked regarding the most vulnerable groups, we have done our homework and our analysis mainly in the mining region, in Upper Nitra region. Due to the closure of the mine, approximately 2,500 miners will lose their job by the end of this year. So definitely this is the most vulnerable group. But when we dig further and when we go into detail in terms of the data, we can see that probably half of these people are going to opt for early retirement schemes. So approximately 1,000 miners will go back to the labor market and will be unemployed and will be seeking for new job opportunities. This number is going to increase the unemployment rate in the mining region only by 0.5%. So this is not a significant impact. But what is a significant impact is that we are basically losing a full industrial branch in this region. We need to refocus our activities on new diversified areas, new diversified economies, and create opportunity for the young generation so that they remain in the region. And we have actually targeted these two things with two specific measures. One is related to a program which is focused on reskilling and requalifying miners. We have analyzed the demand for jobs and for skills in the region, so we know exactly what the businesses need, and we are actually adjusting this requalification program and requalification courses to the needs of the business. So the miners are going to learn machinery and other skills which are needed by the business sector in that specific area. It's a program that is up and running already in Upper Nitra, and it's being currently financed from the Just Transition Fund.
Thank you very much. We still have a time reserved for your questions and for the Q&A section, your questions and the answers of the panelists. So whoever wants to ask some question to the or Mrs. Commissioner or the ministries and the governor, you can ask right now. You have the floor. If you don't, we are already screening the graphic summary of the panel debate. Thank you very much for it. It looks really nice. There are a lot of words. Okay, let's try to orient this. The lesson learned: we are under the pressure. We needed to prove our resilience. We are dealing with demographic changes, aging. We need to digitalize our economies, cooperate and have efficient project management and motivate the consumers and the citizens, not frustrate them with the regulations and barriers and restraints. The key is the resilience. We have good reason and support, and as we have heard, we should stay focused on our goals and not change them every time anything happened, just to reconsider and reassess. We are more independent on the fossil fuels from Russia, for example, and we are focusing on resilience also of the regions, not only the area of whole European, but also for local areas. It is challenging, okay. We have to face it and see it as an opportunity. As Mr. Bartosz, if I remember it well, said that the northern states never sees the problems as an opportunity. Maybe this mindset is important. We are successful so far in our achievements in the last year. On how we should deal with the energy crisis, how we should deal with the migration crisis, and we have proved our values. We are committed to change, and yes. Okay, so before I will thank to our panelists, we can end up this session. Do you want to add anything to the summary if you have forgotten anything? Lunch break will last for 1 hour and 1 hour 105 minutes, and we will get back on our 3 breakout sessions. The first here, another 2 breakout sessions are transition, implementation, focused on the energy communities and with the tools of engagement. And thanks to our panelists for their insights, for their opinions and their time that they have given us.